Ethan Cole stood in the middle of the crowded job fair, holding his daughter, Lily's small hand as if she were the last thread keeping him grounded in a world that had stopped making space for men like him. The hall was filled with polished people, shiny shoes, crisp suits, rehearsed smiles. Ethan wore an olive green jacket that had seen more desserts than offices, a faded gray shirt, jeans washed out by time, and boots that didn't squeak. They thudded. The sound of a man used to marching, not waiting. Lily adjusted the strap of her tiny yellow sweater, brushing aside her curly hair as she looked up at her father. "Daddy, are we going to find you a job today?" He squeezed her hand gently. "I hope so, sweetheart. We're trying." But trying hadn't gotten him far. Every recruiter who glanced at his resume saw the same thing: gaps, unexplained transitions, military classifications they didn't understand. And when Ethan didn't brag, didn't sell himself, didn't speak their glossy corporate language, they dismissed him with a polite smile or a mechanical, "We'll call you." But he still continued, because Lily depended on him. A sudden stir rippled through the hall. The air seemed to shift, like gravity briefly changed direction. People straightened their clothes. Recruiters pulled their shoulders back. Even the security guard seemed to stand taller. The reason walked in 5 seconds later. Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Aerotech, a woman whose name alone could make stock prices shiver. She entered with the elegance of a queen and the confidence of someone who had never heard the word no. Wearing a black tailored suit with a crisp white silk shirt and red heels that clicked like insults on marble, she moved through the hall with bodyguards flanking her. Everyone parted for her. Everyone except Ethan, who simply watched her with calm eyes that had seen things far more dangerous than rich executives. Victoria paused near him, noticing him not because he stood out, but because he didn't step away like everyone else. She smiled, not kindly, not cruelly, just amused. "You here for a job?" she asked, her voice coated in expensive confidence. Ethan nodded once. "Yes, ma'am. Looking for pilot openings."
"Pilot?"
She let out a short laugh. "You flew military?" "Yes." "What exactly?" "Rotors, multi-role, extraction ops, long-range transport." She blinked, clearly not impressed by words she didn't fully understand. Her lipstick red mouth curled. "Honey, this company manufactures some of the most advanced civilian helicopters in the country. We need people who are technically trained, adaptable, sharp." She waved her hand toward him. "Not whatever this is." Lily stepped slightly behind Ethan, sensing the sting in the woman's tone. He stayed calm. "I assure you I'm qualified." Victoria's smirk grew. "Sure you are. Tell you what, let's make it fun." She pointed toward the hangar doors at the far side of the hall. "There's a training helicopter outside. You managed to lift it just 2 feet off the ground without crashing, and I'll give you the job." People around them laughed. Victoria added with theatrical arrogance, "Hell." She brushed imaginary lint off her sleeve. "I'll even marry you if you manage to fly it properly." More laughter. Phones came out. A couple of people started filming. Lily clutched Ethan's hand hard. "Daddy, she's being mean." "You don't have to do it." Ethan crouched to her level, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Sometimes," he said softly, "when someone tries to make you feel small, you just have to remind them who you are." He kissed her forehead and stood up. Victoria raised a brow. "So do we have a deal?" Ethan's voice was steady, calm, almost too casual. "Ma'am, you shouldn't promise things you don't understand." Her pride flared instantly. "Prove me wrong then, veteran." Ethan nodded. "All right." They walked through the hall toward the open hangar doors. Sunlight poured in, illuminating the sleek silver helicopter parked on the tarmac. The thing looked like it belonged in a futuristic museum. Hale Aerotech logos glimmered on the side. Ryan Brooks, the company's head flight instructor, turned when he saw Victoria approaching. "Ma'am, what's—" "This man thinks he can fly my training model," Victoria said loudly. "Let's entertain him." Ryan looked at Ethan, at first with neutrality, then curiosity, then confusion. Something tugged at his memory. "You sure about this?" Ryan asked quietly. Ethan gently set Lily's backpack near a bench. "Yes." Ryan studied him. "Most civilians can barely power it on. This is advanced even for pros." "I'm not a civilian," Ethan said simply. Ryan stopped mid-breath. He looked closer, focused. Then his eyes widened. Wait, Ethan Cole? Ethan tensed. Yes. The Ghost Falcon? The crowd gasped. Victoria frowned. Who? Ryan turned to her. The man you're mocking flew the Red Sand extraction mission. He saved 27 soldiers under fire with a shot engine and half a tail rotor. They still study that mission worldwide. Victoria blinked. The crowd murmured. Ethan looked down. That was a long time ago. Ryan stepped back with respect. Sir, I can't believe it's you. Victoria's arrogance faltered for the first time. She couldn't quite hide her surprise. Ethan climbed into the cockpit. He didn't boast, didn't look around, didn't soak in the whispers or shock. He simply settled into the pilot seat like someone coming home after years away. Lily watched him with wide, glowing eyes. Victoria suddenly didn't look amused anymore. Ryan stood by with his arms crossed. This is going to be interesting. Ethan placed his hands on the controls. For a moment he said nothing, just breathed. Then, systems lit up. Screens blinked alive. The helicopter hummed like an animal stretching after a long sleep, responding to him with the familiarity of an old friend. His fingers moved with muscle memory, precise, smooth, confident. On the ground, Victoria's confidence wavered. She took a small, involuntary step forward. The rotors began spinning. People backed away as wind rushed across the hangar. Lily held onto her hair, staring up in amazement. Ethan's expression changed, not to pride, not to arrogance, but to something peaceful. Like he was exactly where he belonged. The helicopter lifted. 6 inches. A foot. 2 feet. Then 3. Perfectly steady. No wobble, no overcorrection. Not even a tremor. The crowd fell silent. Ryan's jaw dropped. Victoria stared at the helicopter as if reality itself betrayed her expectations. Ethan held the hover effortlessly, shifting weight, controlling yaw as if guiding air with his fingertips. Then, because he could, he nudged the cyclic and made the aircraft drift left. Hover, drift right, hover again, then rotate in a perfect 180-degree turn. He wasn't performing, he was demonstrating, showing them the difference between a pilot and a soldier built in the sky. When he finally landed, the skids touched the ground softer than a sigh. The rotors slowed. The crowd erupted in whispers. Ethan stepped out calmly as if he'd merely parked a car. Lily ran to him and hugged his leg. He lifted her. Victoria stood frozen, embarrassment and awe mixing in her eyes. Ryan approached Ethan with absolute respect. Sir, if you want a job here, I'll personally make sure you get the highest position available. Victoria swallowed hard. Her arrogance melted into something quieter, humility maybe. Or correction. She cleared her throat. Mr. Cole, I owe you an apology. I misjudged you. Ethan nodded. Yes, you did. The crowd held their breath. Victoria forced herself to continue. I don't normally admit mistakes. But today, she exhaled, you taught me something. Ethan shifted Lily to his other arm. Ma'am, all I need is a chance. I'm not asking for favors. Victoria looked at Lily's small arms wrapped around him. Her expression softened. Report to my office tomorrow morning, she said quietly. We have more than just pilot positions open, and everything I said earlier about marriage. Ethan chuckled once. Forget that part. The crowd laughed gently. Victoria even smiled, genuinely this time. Ethan turned to leave with Lily, walking into the sunlight like a man who had finally taken back a piece of himself. Behind him, people watched, not a veteran, desperate for a job, but a legend, who didn't need applause to prove anything. Lily whispered in his ear, Daddy? Are you happy? Ethan kissed her hair. Very. Because today, the world finally remembered who he was.